Hello, and welcome back to the Teacher Training Video Project. My name is Marie Mitchell, and today we'll talk about how to use poetry in the classroom. First of all, let's discuss reasons why you should use poetry in the classroom. To begin with, poetry, like a beautiful photograph, is inspiring. It is inspiring in part because it allows students to be creative, and also because poetry, with its emphasis on rhythm and style, imagery and imagination, is interesting. Poetry in the classroom can also help students build their language abilities. Students can improve their own vocabulary and use the new words they are learning, and students can also focus on key grammatical elements of a poem, particularly in learning sentence patterns and practicing those patterns. And let's not forget, students can perform their poetry, which will help them gain needed oral practice and improve their pronunciation. Finally, using poetry in a classroom is exciting because students can play with language in a fun way, share that poetry, and be successful. We have discovered that such success often builds students' self-esteem. Now let's discuss ways to use poetry in the classroom. First of all, you as a teacher can find poems you like and share your favorite poems in the classroom. Some of our favorite poems come from poets such as Ezra Pound, Shel Silverstein, and Dr. Seuss. These poets love to show how words can be colorful and come to life. Also, their poems can give you ideas of how to construct your own poetry. This brings us to a second way to use poetry. Share your own poems. Remember not to be afraid to write, because as you practice writing poems, you will be better at teaching them. Also, students will love to listen to your own attempts at poetry. This can show them that teachers can have fun too. As they see your love for language, they will try to have fun with language too. Finally, perhaps the best way to use poetry in the classroom is to encourage students to create their own through the use of poetry templates. A poetry template is a form that can help students to practice with language in a more controlled setting. Students are asked to focus on a particular linguistic objective, and this gives them a chance to be both creative and to follow grammatical rules. We'll give you a few examples of poetry templates so that you can see how this is done. Before we show you these examples, let me remind you that poetry templates are error tolerant, meaning that students can make a few errors and still be very successful, and that the poems do not have to rhyme. The poetry in these poems comes in the images and rhythms of the words. One of our favorite templates is called a senses poem. In this kind of poem, the objective is to have students compare a noun, such as the word English, to other nouns using the 5 senses. In this activity, you might want to teach all of the sensory verbs, or perhaps you could teach similes, which focus on the use of comparisons with the word like. Here is the template. Notice that the students are given a controlled form and asked to provide certain details for the form. Here, you can tell students to use nouns, or for advanced cases, noun phrases. Now listen to a few examples from our own fantastic teachers in Iraq.
English is colorful. It tastes like apples. It sounds like Johnny Cash. It smells like flowers. It looks like a mediator. It makes me feel active and alive.
English is an evergreen tree. It tastes like honey. It sounds like a soft music. It smells like a rose. It looks like a refreshing breeze. It makes me feel like a bird flying in the open skies.
Notice that in both of these poems, we can enjoy exciting and sometimes unpredictable images. They invite us to think how English is like apples, Johnny Cash, or honey. Students can feel and love the excitement that these poems generate. There are other popular templates that help students describe. Here is one more example that invites students to describe a good student. In this template, a teacher might pre-teach phrasal verbs, prepositional phrases, or negative and positive statements. Here is the template. This template allows students to finish each of the first 5 sentences with an idea about a good student, and in the last line, students are asked to think about a negative response. What isn't a good student? Now, let's listen to the example.
A good student cares about his dreams. A good student is interested in his subjects. A good student plans for a good life. A good student motivates his friends. A good student doesn't forget his future.
Now that you have seen a few examples, you should begin to think about how you might design your own. Let us give you a few suggestions on how to do this. First of all, always begin with a linguistic objective. You can choose any kind of linguistic objective. It could be a grammatical objective, like mastery of gerunds, non-count nouns, tenses, or comparatives. Or it might involve word building and invite students to learn about senses, numbers, animals, or occupations. Finally, you might be wondering how to present some of these poetry templates. Let me give you the most important tip. Make sure that you make these poetry activities interactive at the beginning, the middle, and the end. At the beginning, before students write, you can give the template and an example on the board, and then have everyone repeat or recite together from the board. You can also give an example to each student and have students alternate reading lines with you. And don't forget, the best part of poetry is when students get a chance to share and perform. Performing is especially great at the end of this activity. Students can present at their desks if they are shy, or perhaps in groups. Or you can have students present in front of the classroom and encourage students to clap for them. You can definitely make it fun. Finally, you can publish their poetry by putting it on the walls or by making a class newsletter. Students feel special when they are able to see their work published in these ways. I'm so glad you watched. Available for download is a group of poetry templates and examples. In the download, you will see many more templates and examples you can use with your own students. Thanks for watching.